Hi, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen. Thanks for joining me today. We are coming to the end of June. We're preparing to start a new month of July. June, though, is not going out easy because these last couple days, this last weekend that we have coming up is loaded with instability. First, we have Mars moving into the sign of Gemini on Sunday. Monday, Mercury goes retrograde. Along with the subject of this video on Monday, we have the full moon in Capricorn. So yes, on Monday, June 29th, not only is Mercury going retrograde, but we have our full moon in the sign of Capricorn. That's going to be at 8 degrees 14 minutes of Capricorn at 7:56 p.m. here Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be at its fullest. So things are coming to a boiling point. We need to really, turn the heat down before the pot just starts boiling over, because things are just getting really crazy, I guess you could say. So not only do we have Mars in Gemini closing in on a conjunction with Uranus on what day? The 4th of July. And that's while here in the US, we're celebrating the United States 250th birthday. So there's going to be a lot of fireworks, to say the least, and that will be in one way or another anyway. The ruler of Gemini, the sign that Mars is moving into and where this conjunction will happen, the ruler is Mercury. And as we said, it's stationing retrograde. And that is on Monday, same day as the full moon. So lots going on. And we also have the following day, the 30th, on Tuesday, we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo. And so we have those two big sign changes. We have Mars moving into Gemini, then we have Jupiter moving into Leo, and then we have Mercury going retrograde, and then a full moon. So that's all actually while Mercury is going to be pretty much on that 26 degree of Cancer. So if you have anything at that 26 degree, why this is going on, or any 26 degree of the cardinal signs, you're definitely going to feel this in a little intensely here, because that's really going to just, power it down on that degree. So in my last video where I talked about Mercury retrograde, and I'll link that up here for those who haven't seen it, definitely check that out. I urge y'all to be mindful and be prepared for some explosive events to come because of all these especially that combination that we have going on with Mars and that applying conjunction to Uranus and in the sign of Gemini, and then Mercury going retrograde. So this, Mercury ruling travel, communication, and then we have Uranus ruling electronics, electricity, then Mars with that destructive energy. So I feel that we may see some widespread power outages happening due to attacks or even cyber attacks. I guess that's where they're saying warfare is going to be going. It's all going to be cyber attacks. So we might see some of that happening, viruses getting spread, and that could really take down and halt travel and just kind of put the whole country at a standstill. With flights being grounded, and just because we are so dependent on our computers, on our phones, on technology, that just doing stuff is kind of difficult. The way that we used to do things, looking at maps and that type of thing, it's so different than the way that we do things now, that I know a lot of younger people probably wouldn't even know how to do it. So if you are planning on traveling for our upcoming holiday weekend, I would keep alternative plans just in case things go awry. So with the power outages, those cyber attacks, we may need, again, to do things the old school way, to not rely so much on electronics. Even banking might be down, so that type of thing, you might have to use cash or whatever if you're going to the store. So all you doomsday preppers out there might finally get to put all that hard work that you've put in to good use. But looking deeper into our Capricorn full moon, which Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, And Saturn always gets a bad rap, you know. It can be your biggest advocate at a time like this, though, because Saturn forces you to do something that you really don't want to do. It forces you to put in the work. So if you want to get something done and you can't take the easy way out, Saturn is going to kind of be that pusher that pushes you into doing the things that, you know, you don't really feel like doing. So, you know, if you are like one of those doomsday preppers, like I said, you're being prepared for the worst. You've done a lot of work getting prepared for the worst. Your hard work's going to pay off. And that's what Saturn does. Saturn kind of, it rewards you for putting in the work. And, you know, for us here, yes, we prepared for the worst, you know, back in, I think like, during COVID, we started stocking up because, you know, when the whole toilet paper shortage, you know, everyone kind of freaked out. It's like, okay, I'm not going to lose that again. But other things too, you know, we have our cans all stacked up. We are growing food. I'm also learning foraging so we can find food if we have nothing. My husband has like everything on these solar powered batteries that can be charged by the sun. And also he has different water filtration systems that go right in water bottles, that so you can, you know, go down to the stream or the river and drink right from your water bottle, and all will be safe. So hopefully we won't have to rely on any of that. But you know, knowing all the astrology that was coming up, and plus everything that we went through during COVID, kind of just thought it might be a good idea to get prepared. So going to the stores and seeing the shelves just empty back then it's really scary. It's kind of a scary thought, and we don't want to go through that all again. Saturn is especially key, first because it rules Capricorn, which is the sign that our full moon's in, and it is also, though, in a T-square with the full moon. So a T-square, means Saturn is not only square to the moon, but it's also square to the sun. So it's making a T-shaped pattern. And this is actually an applying or a building T-square. So it's getting closer to exact. And it's going to be building all week through really the following 4th of July weekend. So we have first, I think the moon is going to be exact on Sunday or Monday, and then I think on the 6th is when the sun will be exact. So yes, right about the time of that Mars-Uranus conjunction, just to make things a little more exciting. So that's what I'm talking about. There's not only just a full moon going on, but it's in a T-square with its ruler. So we also do have, though, a separating T-square with Neptune, because remember, they're both in the sign of Aries. Neptune hasn't gotten quite so far through like Saturn. Saturn's faster moving. So they're going to be in a separating, so moving away from T-square, the sun and the moon, with Neptune. So that's moving away from almost like a collective disillusionment and a sensitivity, moving towards Saturn. So one nice thing, though, with that Neptune ruling oil as it does, now we're separating and oil prices are going down. But I still, you know how Neptune can be, so you don't want to be disillusioned at all. I don't think it's all going to be sunshine and roses. So I don't, you know, just because gas prices are going down and, you know, that's going to kind of filter down to everything else, I don't trust it, and I don't trust that it's going to stay that way just because of everything that's going on, especially, you know, with all this volatility that could be going on with the Mars-Uranus conjunction, with Mercury retrograde. So we could go back and revisit some of those issues that we had prior. So as the oil prices dropped, they closed the strait, and, you know, maybe, you know, they still are kind of fucking around over there. So there could be going back on peace talks, you know, during the peace talks that were made during that Mercury pre-shadow, kind of getting ready for the Mercury retrograde period. Hopefully they won't renege on the, you know, either side won't renege on promises that were made and prices go back up. And that's, you know, Saturn putting back obstacles that can stop boats from getting through the strait. So that's only an example that I'm going to use. I'm not going to be political in this video. We're going to kind of stay away from that and make it a little more how this could affect you personally and how could it affect people around you. A cardinal T-square. So this T-square is a cardinal T-square. So we have Saturn in the sign of Aries, Moon in the sign of Capricorn, and we have the Sun in the sign of Cancer. So what does that mean? So we can feel a block because of that T-square. We could feel a block in our emotions and in our logic because of these bottled up emotions. That's that Saturn. It's kind of blocking our emotions, kind of blocking that moon and blocking our logic. And we may not be logical or have any self-control, because we do have Saturn in Aries. So that's that action without, without thinking. And then of course, Mars, of course, the ruler of Aries, thrown into the mix, about to conjunct Uranus. So like I said, this week really just looks like it's a pot ready to boil over, and that it might actually boil over when we get to that to the 4th of July weekend. So, and this could be in ways that could be actually hard to control. Like it could be straining relationships, or even worse than that, on a large scale globally. We might see like rifts in diplomacy, partnerships, peace talks, mediation, people being overly emotional, feeling like maybe their needs aren't being met, and like there's a block there. There's something blocking someone else from understanding what they're trying to say and what they're saying that they need. And this could be in our personal relationships as well. There just seems to be something standing in the way or missing from being able to feel like you're being heard, to be able to feel like you're hearing somebody and understanding what they're trying to tell you. So why is that? Well, what is missing is the empty leg of our T-square. So that is our last cardinal sign, which is the sign of Libra. And Libra is the one that's just not seated at the table. It's not represented here. It's that empty sign. There's nobody in there completing that foursome. And that's in the sign of air. So Libra brings that diplomacy, and it brings that fairness, and it makes you feel like you're being heard. It's that mediator that, okay, you talk, and okay, I hear what you're saying, and here's how I feel about that. So there's that mediation going on, that you can relate to somebody and how they're feeling, and it's more of a we. Libra is that we instead of a me. And this is how we can agree to blank. So if it's problems in your relationship, how can we agree to get through this? How can we work together? How can we compromise? So that is what Libra would bring to the table, but that's what's kind of missing there. With Libra as that missing leg, plus Mercury retrograde, there may be also a lot of miscommunications, misunderstandings, and even misjudgments. So going back on things that were, once said and understood, but now, kind of rethinking that kind of stuff. So this creates more and more opposition, and it creates more challenges, tensions, and anger. And those obstacles can really feel like a hit to your ego. And once something like that happens, it could cause a lot of anger, as that tension from the T-square grows in the conjunction to Mars and Uranus grows closer and closer to exact, we could feel more and more that we are getting to that boiling point. So which is why I say we might see, not just on a big global scale, we might see acts of aggression, violent outbursts, even on a smaller scale, with people just acting out towards others because they don't feel like their voices are being heard. They don't feel like they're being understood. And that can cause a lot of tension. It can cause a lot of frustration. And so sometimes they'll do whatever they feel that they need to do. And you will hear me, and I'll do this to make sure you hear me. So that kind of worries me a little bit. And of course, there is even those large-scale attacks that we could see on power grids. So it is good to be prepared, because we did hear, there was those threats in case, certain countries didn't abide by the peace treaties, there'd be the whole, power plants or power grids and bridges. So, it could happen here in the United States or really anywhere, because there's a lot of conflicts going on right now. There's a lot of upheaval going on. People are understanding. You see these rifts and kind of things boiling over in all different countries for all different reasons. And this is kind of where things are coming to a head, where things might, not just here in the United States, but anywhere around the world. So again, all this for us here in the United States is coming on our 250th celebration, our 4th of July. And so these personal and global tensions can lead, I said, to violent acts that could be just within your own town, within your own, state that's happening. Maybe you have a state fair going on, a big celebration, a town parade that the town puts on so without warning, that Mars and Uranus can cause destruction, bring chaos, and, could do something violent and act out that could, potentially put people at risk. So I really hope that this isn't the case. I kind of always give a little worst case scenario. It's how my brain has always been wired. I always go from 0 to, holy shit, this is going to be awful. Not just astrology wise, but in just my everyday life. I very easily get overly worried when I don't have to be. So I do like saying these things though, so that you can be prepared, so that if you are at a place like this, if you're having a town celebration, or if you're having, at a park, a cookout, and there's a lot of people there, just really kind of, use that full moon, because we have that full moon that's in the sign of Capricorn, opposite, the sun in Cancer. So our wits and intuition are really working together. So we want to be smart and be safe and feel if something doesn't feel right, and allow yourself to, let that feeling in. So now we look back at Saturn, who can really push us again to do those things that we might not want to do, to push us out of our comfort zone, just in case we do come face to face with something happening. But in scary times, this can really be a blessing, because it's how we handle whatever situation we're going to be faced with is how we can come out on the other end. Are we going to come out as like a victim or a victor? So are you going to, hide away? Are you going to be that person that is doing these bad things? Or are you going to try and help somebody that could be in need because of this? And again, this could be even on a personal level. Say you're having problems in just your relationship. Are you going to be the bigger person, or are you just going to attack, and, maybe call names and things that you really can't take back, especially, when we have that Mars in Gemini moving in that conjunction to Uranus, you could say things that you don't mean easily and just spout them out and call somebody names and make somebody feel bad just because you're angry with them. But do you really want to do that? So you want to try and be able to maybe use that Saturn in that T-square to kind of calm down and think before you do these things. Try and think of the responsible thing to say, be that bigger person, and have some self-control so you don't go off. Even if maybe your partner could be feeling the effects a little bit more and might not be able to control their emotions, you don't want to be just attacking both ways. So again, see how you can come out as the victor or the victim in all of this. I say, try and be the victor if at all possible. You always want to be that bigger person if you can be. You want to be that person that helps. If something did happen when you were at a celebration, are you going to be the person that kind of shrinks away? Or are you going to be the person that goes and runs to aid, to help somebody? If you see somebody drowning, are you going to jump in the water to help them? Or are you just going to film it, So how this all plays out is how you'll look going forward, pretty much. So again, it could be even as simple as stepping up and taking on a new project at work, being that Saturn is forcing us or kind of urging us to do something that might not be in our comfort zone. So maybe it's something that nobody else is doing and you go ahead and you volunteer to do it. And everyone's like, oh, nice. Like, oh, Jen did that. Like, she's awesome. So you just like want to look at like going above and beyond maybe for your partner. If you're having an issue, going above and beyond to be that better person. So you're not just focusing on negativity, you're bringing a little more positivity into it, or standing out as a hero in the time of chaos. Because, that is just being a good citizen. And instead of just what we see so much on TV with somebody getting attacked and people are just filming it with their phones and not doing anything about it. And you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that wallflower that's sitting there and just taking videos so you can get 1 million likes on TikTok or whatever. You want to be that person that stands out, and you want to be that hero. You want to be that helper. So will this full moon, will it boost your reputation, and will it like solidify your legacy moving forward? Because this is the full moon. What happens after that as we wane back down? So is this the legacy you're going to be bringing with you? Is it going to be that of positivity, of helper, of a leader, of the person that steps up when nobody else wants to? Or will you shrink from responsibility and let your reputation kind of be ruined and have people just not have faith in you? And, like I said, like the work projects, it's like, oh, nobody wanted to step up, this isn't going to get done, and now we have to hire somebody else, and now they're going to get paid more, and I'm not going to get paid, so it's all just negative. So it's all what we do now is going to affect us moving forward. Because remember, too, the following day after that full moon, we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo. So this is about, again, being courageous. Show your strength, show your leadership skills, and just be that leader, be that person that is going to, step up there and be courageous, be brave, be strong, and just, really let your light shine, stand out amongst everybody else in the crowd, amongst everyone else in your workplace, in just your family and just your relationship. Be that person that stands out. Let your light shine a little bit brighter, and you will be rewarded for it, because Saturn likes when you do these things. It likes when you go out of your comfort zone, you push yourself to do better and push yourself to grow as a person. So Saturn will be pleased. And we deep dove into the Jupiter in Leo a little bit, so I'm going to link that up here too. I'll also link it at the end so you guys can see it. Definitely check that out too. So that's going to be for an entire year. So that's going to be an energy that's going to be starting and then kind of developing all year. So like, where in your chart are you going to stand out? Where are you going to shine? And how is this full moon that's happening the day before in the sign of Capricorn, which is our reputations, and it's our careers, and it's what we move towards in our lives. It's like what we try to achieve, that height of maybe our careers, and just being that person that passes down that legacy. So how is that going to kind of kick off what then Jupiter's going to pick up from there for the next year? So we also have one very positive aspect coming up, I think, and it is Saturn making a trine to Venus, Venus being in the sign of Leo. So again, so much here about being that person that stands out, being that person that is that diplomatic. And even though Libra is that empty leg of our T-square, what we need, and over attention to pay attention to ease the negativity that the difficulties with this T-square could bring. The trine with Venus can be really our saving grace at the end of all of it, because Venus is the ruler of Libra. So this trine kind of sits her at the table where we had that empty leg, where we had Venus we had Libra missing. Now we kind of put Venus in that seat. And it fills that seat, so it kind of gives us that balance. It kind of gives us that harmony. It can show commitment. Like, I am committed to doing this thing. I am committing to this relationship and putting my all into making it work. So it is the commitment to putting in the work to further something and to be dependable, to be reliable. So I commit myself, to this relationship. I commit myself to being that person that isn't going to sit back and do nothing. It's that commitment. Then if I make you a promise, that I'm going to keep that promise. And maybe that's goes along with these peace treaties. So, maybe that once they make the commitment to these peace talks and peace treaties, and then they'll stick to it because of this aspect. So, that could be that resolution of conflict, because that Venus brings that mediation. It brings that compromise. It brings that, being able to see the other side. And so that could resolve some of the conflicts that goes on. And it really also brings in trust where there may have not been trust. Again, this could be, I don't trust my coworkers, and I don't trust my spouse, or I don't trust that certain countries are going to abide by what their peace talks. I don't trust that people are going to not do something wrong. So it kind of does build our trust, something that we might have been lacking. And it's about like being responsible in our relationships and being determined to really see things through. So really to understand, to build a solid foundation through this trust and through these alliances that we're going to be making, because we are doing these things and not being shrinking violence and standing out and gaining, a following almost, gaining that where people are proud to be associated with you, because you stood out to do this, because you stood up a little bit above the crowd. So if you are doing that and you're standing out, this could bring, that positive, people see that and they want to do the same thing. They want to be like that. Instead of being negative and violent, they want to be a little bit more positive. So we can all be a little more honest and trusting and a little more diplomatic and seeing the other side instead of being so polarized. So in the end, if things continue to build on a good path, we can reap the benefits. We could reap these benefits financially. We can in peace and in love, and really just start going towards that evolution that we're working towards in this life. And the life that we're given, everything's about evolving into a better person. And there are those things that hold us back, things that we had issues with maybe in a past life, the things that we struggle with, those are those parts of our chart that are those difficult parts, and we need to learn in this life to work through them so that we can evolve and maybe come back in our next life a little bit better, a little bit happier, and not have a lot of these issues that we have right now. And this could even just be as us evolving as humanity currently, so that we make the world a better place for all of us. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give some love. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe. You definitely also want to hit that bell for notifications, because lots of good videos coming up. We have July, which is got so much going on at the beginning, so we want to keep up with that. We have in August, we have eclipse season coming up, so there's so much coming up. Now more than ever, you guys just go ahead, keep a peaceful mind, try to find some peace amongst the chaos, use positive words to speak to each other, and you will hear positive words back. Have love in your heart and spread that love around, and most of all, have faith in yourself that you could stand out and be that better person, and also have faith in humanity that they can do the same. So I will see y'all soon. Bye.